I know it's not 6:30 in the morning, it is nearly 10:15. Technical issues. And you know what comes up whenever Louise and I have technical issues, especially when she's away, is that this show, Miracles and Wonder Down Under, is spirit asking me to speak, which is something that first frightens me and then angers me, and then I just have to drop into what it is that I do with other people. So this episode of Miracles and Wonder Down Under is about graceful surrender, which is not looking like a ballerina. It is having those cues, knowing what they are, and not telling some other story that makes you or somebody else wrong, right, or incomplete. So here I am, sitting in front of the screen, talking to my own reflection, thinking about how that changes what it feels like to be here. Because even the conversation with my intuitive guidance, even the conversation with that neutral space, that neutral consciousness just flows. And then when it comes out of my body, when it resonates, because I can feel my voice resonating in my body, when it starts to resonate, it changes the conversation to just flow out rather than be a back and forth intuitive conversation between two aspects of the divine. It's just a subtle shift in being present. Something I know I'm being called to do. It is just really unfamiliar. It is such a, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, because for me, even the sense of throwing up, like even that sense of whatever people have this idea of things being unpleasant, they still fascinate me. All of those sensations, the body temperature, the tingling, the rush of adrenaline, the consciousness of some part of your body louder than another, all of those things for me are fascinating. There's not a lot of things that occur in my everyday situation that feel unpleasant. And I think that's what people want. You know, when I'm listening to people who have the same kind of concept about the world, people like Ken Stone, who's got the 4 days of healing at the moment, which I've only had a chance to listen to the first day. Thanks, Ken. That was really fabulous. I love it when you weep. It makes me so happy when you leave the recording on and just allow yourself to emote. It's a really beautiful thing. It's one of the things I really admire about Louise Moriarty is as an emotional empath, she stays present to her abilities, and they're magical abilities. They're part of her divine identity. They're not something that she needs to rein in and control and have a polite sensibility about. They are something that make her amazing. And I keep getting this message that we're meant to go to the embodied messenger experience the 3 days at the end of February. And I'm not sure how that's going to financially occur, but every time I ask, are you sure it's still something I need to be committed to? the answer is yes. So, however that occurs, I'm not really interested in the how. It's not for me to do. I just need to do what I'm told. And I think this is whatever's coming in for people at the moment. So, Ken's message is very much in line with that. Um, it's not about manifesting and having a plan and working towards it and what I call spiritual herding. It's not about um, seeing the signs as confirmation of getting it right or confirmation you need to do something differently. There's a very new way of being on the planet. There's a very new way, even for, as Ken says, a new paradigm of leadership, which is about vulnerability, and the concept of not having to be perfect. And I want to take that a little bit further because it's not just about not having to be perfect. It's about the concept of perfection being something that you attain, that's something that you work towards, that's something that you can identify as a vision for yourself or the planet, and then tick off as you see the bits and pieces manifest. There's a new concept of perfection, which is about being able to see that everything that is occurring right now, A, is connected, interconnected, and B, is in perfect harmony right this second. And that kind of grinds on a few levels um, when we're tuned to the things that look painful and unfair. And it's not that there's no such thing as pain, and there's not that there's no such thing as power plays. It's the fact that when you stand in a particular place, you see that story in a new way. You see power plays as your conversation with the cosmos, as something happening for you. You see those power plays in a language that allows you to be your divine identity right now. So instead of seeing the power play as something that you need to fix or change or understand in a new way, you embody that experience in a new way. You embody that experience from what I call your divine identity, which is also that idea of being natural, whoever you are. I'm thinking about Mark Nepo, and I'm thinking about his beautiful message that your one obligation is to be yourself. In my work with what used to be called the Lux Fair candles, and is now part of the Heart Alchemy business, that idea of being natural I've called being supernatural, which is just another way of saying whatever you're doing is perfect. And if you want to have another experience of that, you can do that consciously. But it's not about changing or improving or healing some aspect, although that might be what it feels like. The language is only important if it's changing your experience. If your experience is about suffering or waiting, or being incomplete, then the language might need to change for you. But if it doesn't, if you can use any of those words and the experience allows you to stay in full self-acceptance, then you don't need to change the words. So with the heart alchemy things and the projects that Louise and I have been working on, the Perfect Present 8-week experience, which launches on the 14th of February, we are very much working on How do people come back to their supernatural self, acknowledge their divine identity, and walk around in the world from a place that tells them the story that neither you or anybody else is right, wrong, or incomplete. So all of those aspects of who you are become friends, and you know where they live, and you welcome them as an essential aspect of your divine identity. None of them are obstacles, like including the ego. Like none of those things that have been bad-mouthed or made higher or lower aspects. Not like all of that kind of drops away, and you understand that it's more like that fractal. It's more like that sense of everything existing in a three-dimensional space. There is no sense of up and down, left and right, good and bad, right and wrong. All of that stuff kind of drops away, and the only authenticity is your experience. There's no authentic and inauthentic. There's no being off course, because you're always on purpose. What is the experience of being on purpose right now for you? And you can have a different experience if you choose to, but the experience that you're having is not because you're doing something wrong. It's not because there's a better way. There is a lot of conditioning, there's a lot of core beliefs, there's a lot of processes that you can go through to understand the why of the choices that you're making. But if you can drop into the truth of whatever's going on, you're getting what you want. If you can drop into the truth of whoever you are, I say whatever configuration of crazy the divine made you is perfect, then you don't need to go through any of those processes. But if you feel drawn to understand those things more deeply, there are lots of ways of having that experience. And so Louise and I have designed a few different programs that enable people to have that experience. So the perfect present isn't about living mastership. The perfect present is about being able to walk around in the world and have a story that tells you that neither you or anybody else is right, wrong, or incomplete. And then part of that is obviously being able to have self-acceptance, that all of the aspects that make you up are necessary and worthwhile and valuable and part of your divine identity. So there's 8 weeks that we take you through, just that give you an experience of that. It's not so much teaching you something you don't already know. It is tapping into the truths that are already there. And in the conversations with us and with yourself and with the community, there is an opportunity for those ideas that are in the what I call the washing machine that just go round and round and round in your head. You say, yeah, but how do I make peace with this? And whether it's something internal or a relationship with someone, an intimate relationship in your life, or whether it's a conceptual part of your reality, whether it's about poverty or war or inequity, those kinds of things get to play in the 8 weeks, and you get to see where they fit in your life as a conversation with the cosmos. So you get to see where those emotional responses to injustice play as an intuitive, as part of your intuitive guidance. So at all points in your day, you're telling the story that whatever is going on is part of that conversation with the cosmos, is part of your soul speaking to you, and is part of God living through your experience. So it takes away this need to be in control. It takes away this need to have the world a particular way in order to know that you're a good person. It takes away the need to understand exactly why people are doing what they're doing in order for you to love all of humanity. And it takes away the need for you to have a sense of how it's meant to be in order for you to have a purpose. And then you can just focus on being here, on what your conversation with your soul, with the cosmos is, and having it's not so much a better sense of your divine identity, but definitely closer, a more intimate sense that that is who you are. Because it's not as if your divine identity isn't operating. You're not activating it. You're not turning it on or understanding it in a new way. It's just that it becomes part of your awareness. So there are lots of labels that we give ourselves and that we have been given. And there are lots of categories that help us divide the world in a way that help us feel safe. And safety and feeling worthwhile and feeling as if we belong and there's some meaning to our lives are the three things that motivate all of our choices and behaviors and responses and ideas about the world. And none of this happens in an isolated situation. I say none, nothing happens in a vacuum. So all of those ideas didn't just pop up in this moment. All of those ideas are tied to everything else that's going on for you, including the conversation with the cosmos. So that all gets a bit tangled in such a short conversation. That's why we decided to do the 8 weeks. But there's also an opportunity for you to do a living master mentorship. So instead of signing up for the 8 weeks, you might sign up for one of the 3 opportunities of doing the living master mentorship, which includes the 8 weeks. It includes sessions with Louise and I and lots of other fabulous things. And it's something that you might do if you want to be able to walk around in the world and understand technical difficulties as spirit speaking to you directly. It's something that you might sign up for if you want to understand how being in traffic is an opportunity in your life. It's something that you might sign up for if you want to be able to have unresolved issues and know that that's absolutely perfect and that divine timing is something that you have complete faith in. And that if there is something that needs to be done, you will be guided to do it. It's not a cognitive process. I'm just thinking about Louise in the outback, driving through all those sacred places. I'm thinking about Anne and the fact that our page shut down when she tried to put my bio up, which is another signal, which is just another part of that whole invitation for me to stand in who I am. Because the more I stand in being living master, Melanie Brockwell, with the only perfection being I am here in this moment, vulnerable and honest about what's happening for me, about my conversation with the cosmos. The more I can stand in that, the more I can do my job. I mean, there is no other priority. There is no other vision. The priority is to be connected. So doing my job is not just about doing. So when I say doing my job, I mean being present. I mean being connected. So that new paradigm of leadership on the planet is about standing in who you are in a way that doesn't separate you from anyone or anything else. So that configuration of crazy that the divine made you is that uniqueness is actually what interconnects you with everyone and everything else. So you know when you have a confession, not necessarily in a confession box, with another person, you have the confession and you feel like you have made yourself completely vulnerable and they can see some aspect of you that you've been hiding. I get the picture of just moving your heart a little bit to the side. It's like a shyness, not wanting to be exposed. That sense of keeping secret, keeping private is perfect if that's what's going on. But that feeling that you have in confession when you are completely vulnerable, it feels liberating. And when someone says to you, what does freedom mean to you? And the answer for you is being able to be yourself without worrying about rejection or, whatever you say biting you in the ass later on. If your concept of freedom is the kind of liberation that just gives you permission to play, I call it spiritual nose picking. So it's like permission to play as if nobody is watching. So if that's the kind of freedom that you're looking for, or that you're working towards, or that you're present to when you drop into meditation or go for a bushwalk or in a sacred place, if that's the kind of liberation that lights you up, then that's the living master mentorship that we're offering. That's the kind of experience of walking around in the world. So it's not about controlling things so that you can manifest the money or the path that you think is wisest, because the universe has its plan. Whether you surrender to it or not is up to you, and your experience of being on purpose is up to you. And I think that's the new message on the planet, is that interconnectedness, that oneness, that's being portrayed in visions of how the planet should look or how we should behave, is actually more about dropping into our divine identity, being present, being vulnerable, and empowered at the same time, because that's what freedom is. It's empowerment. It's knowing that you are perfectly designed for your mission. So whatever configuration of crazy the divine made you is perfect for your mission. You're not meant to be something else. You're not meant to have a different voice or different hair. It's it's where you stand energetically to see that that's valuable. And some people can drop straight in. And there are different experiences that you can have, say with Becca, which is one of the things we offer in the third phase of the mentorship, where you simply put your hand on your heart and you drop into the earth and you have an experience of wholeness. But in order to be able to take that with you, in order to have a sense of who you are, why you're here, and how to make sense of what's happening to you right now, sometimes you need to have a story about how the world works. Sometimes you need to have an experience that allows you to tell a story, your own story, in each and every moment that brings you back to that feeling when you put your hand in your heart, drop into the earth. As a child of the universe, interconnected with all that is, and have a sense of your wholeness. Your wholeness, not as a finite, discrete shape, but as a shifting, as the breath of the universe, aware of whatever it is that you're aware of right now, in a way that you know it's on purpose. And it's not a challenge, it's not a test, it's not, if that's not what your experience is, then you need to do better or you need to learn this course that we're doing. It is that whatever is happening for you is perfect. Do you want to have another experience of that perfection? Because you have a choice. And it's about play. The stuff that Louise and I do with people is about play. It's not about research this thing and make sure you practice 3 times a day. And it's about playing into who you are. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who was asking me how, why are they here? But the main question they had was, what is their purpose? And we got into what they'd already been doing their entire life and how they could understand that as following their fascination. And they got to a point in the conversation where they were saying, yeah, but what about when you're in a crowd and you start to feel sick or the right side of your body goes numb? And I got this very distinct message that she wanted to sing. And she confessed that one of the things she wants to do in the crowd is to make noise. And I said, well, who is denying you permission to make noise? Who is making the rules that you have to stand there and be a particular way? There's no Gestapo with a gun to your head saying, be silent and stand there and make everybody else comfortable. If your intuition tells you to play, if your soul is asking you to do something that feels, and it feels socially inappropriate because people might feel uncomfortable or they might look at you like you're crazy. but you're not actually hurting anyone. And if that's their response, then perhaps that's their responsibility. And you know in your heart the difference between what your soul is asking you to do and, just some impulse that's about moving out of the discomfort or whatever the other story is. You know what your heart is asking you to do. Hmm. I'm also thinking about the emotion. I know that for me, the the titles, so whether it's empath or channel or living master, there's some sense of how that fits into the whole um, idea that you need to manifest things and control things. And that is that emotion is bad. It's a sign that you're out of control. And I would submit that for some of us, most of us, emotion is part of your conversation with the cosmos. And sometimes it's just passing through you. And in order to be able to do that, you need to be able to understand that the emotion doesn't define you. If you are having suicidal thoughts, if you are having anxiety, if you are having uncertainty, if these things are passing through you, one of the safest ways to allow that to happen, to honor that that's happening for a reason, is to remain embodied, because we instantly want to step back from that and become cognitive. But in order to remain embodied and let it pass through you, there is a sense that this is not me. It is not I am feeling. It is these feelings are moving through me. And then you come back to a sense of who you are. And there is a very strong I am. It is a resonance. It is an I am buzz. And it's the I am that you're willing to confess to neutral consciousness, but perhaps not to another person. But we'll be doing a lot of that work in the 8 weeks, which I'm really excited about. So it's miraclesandwonderdownunder.com, and you can go straight to the store page, or there's a blurb and a video on the Perfect Present tab if you want to find out more about how to be part of that. And we'll have a direct link on the Permission to Be Powerful URL, probably mid-January. It's not there at the moment. There's still a lot of things that feel like they need to play out yet. But there's lots of gratitude I can feel. It feels like angel realms are coming in. Even though I don't understand things as separate, the message I'm being given to tell so that people can understand is the gratitude feels like angel realms coming in. So whatever occurs in order for that to be possible is happening right now. And there's something about angel acceptance for people. You know, that idea that, oh, I can't forgive myself for some horrible thing that I've done, or I can't step into my divinity until I've healed this, or I can't forgive that person or be connected to that energy until something has occurred to change it in a way that makes it sacred. Angel consciousness gives you a sense of the story where neither you or anybody else needs to be right, wrong, or incomplete. There is a full acceptance as everything in harmony, everything perfect and whole. So if that makes more sense to you when you're walking around in the world and you want to be able to drop into something, into that story that doesn't make you or anybody else right, wrong, or incomplete, just think about the way that angels accept you right now. They think you're beautiful. They think you're perfect. They don't see anything bad. They don't see any stains. They just want to love you. They don't have any other motivations. They just want to be near you. It just makes them happy to be near you. So I'm getting okay. So the ascended masters, they're more like for me, they feel like teenage boys. They're like there's this circle. They're so funny. They are this circle of very casual, lounging around, sitting, chatting about things. They are really down to earth. Um, I mean, when they show up as aspects of us, it feels quite grand. You know, I met a man last week, maybe, um, who was asking about Archangel Michael, and there was an aspect of Archangel Michael in his heart, and that it showed up as his being able to stand, um, but in this incredibly gentle way. But when you hang out with them, like if you go into the circle where they're hanging out, it is like it feels like a lounge, and they're all sitting around on the lounge, and there's this little round tables in the middle, and they're all very relaxed. Like there's nothing um, high and mighty about the way that they operate. But yeah, that angelic frequency, that angelic presence is more, they're just fascinated. They just love you. Mm. Yes, okay. And there are lots of other realms that I have access to if you're curious about that stuff. It's it's just a natural way of being in the world. It always has been. I never even understood them as different realms. I didn't understand planes and names and identities, and I don't know, they're just things that have always been there. I've never needed to give them a picture or a name or a separate place. Mm. But if you're curious, we can have those conversations. I often do in sessions. People will ask, what does my guide look like, or what Am I connected to aliens, or am I connected to dragons, or whatever it is, whatever story they have. And I can tell them what their soul can see. But I'm more interested in having an experience, in being a guide. I'm more interested in being a guide so that you can have your own experience of that. Okay, and the other message I'm being given is that I am also here to bring this new way of being on the planet, which is about interconnectedness, that oneness of non-judgment that doesn't make you or anybody else right or wrong or incomplete. It's a big thing. And there's lots of people in burnout, there's lots of people in relationships that are unsure about what to do because there's these lingering concepts of separation, which are things like protection, dark energy, negativity, lower frequencies, higher self. All of those things take you out of your interconnectedness. They take you out of your conversation with the cosmos that allows you to communicate with your soul about what's happening right now in an empowered way. Because you can't be connected to someone that you're judging as less than. If you're looking at some people and saying they're just 3D, they don't get it, they're not awake, or I'll never be connected to, my mother, my brother, whoever it is, my uncle, because they're just a abusive alcoholic, something or other. Like, that's all of these stories that we have about what keeps us separate. We have an opportunity to be on the planet in a new way, where we can understand the purpose of all of the things that are playing out as perfection. And it's not that we're going to be able to see what that alcoholic uncle is doing. I mean, we might, it's possible, but it's not necessary. There is this beautiful sense of trust that we can be interconnected without any of that other stuff having to change or be fixed or transformed in some way. That allows us to be in our divine identity and to do what we're already doing in a new way that feels like we're interconnected. That's the only difference. And all of those feelings when we're getting a sense of not being connected, that's part of our soul conversation. That's part of our conversation with the cosmos. Whatever is loudest is our intuitive guidance. There's no other story going on. There's no other story about, oh, I'm off the path, or I need to fix that. I just really love to have some conversations with people on this 8-week course, which we'll be doing every week. We'll be having live conversations. Okay, I feel that's enough for today. I love you, Miss Louise. I love you, Miss Anne. Miss Kimberly. Oh, and I love you, Mr. Kenneth. Oh, and Rhonda and Christine and Ginny and Rebecca and Jan and everyone, just everyone who's part of this very loud circle. And my mom and my dad and my brothers. And just feel all the people on the planet. Little sparkles of wonder. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope I get to play soon. Perfect present. miraclesandwonderdownunder.com. Okay, stopping the broadcast now.